It's really snowing out here. Like a lot. I don't want to be out here anymore. I wanted to go inside and talk about episode 5 with you. Wow, it's much nicer being inside here with you than it is out there. Well, hi, how are you? It's time to talk about episode 5 of WandaVision, which will contain spoilers. Thanks for being here. And if you're new to my channel, I'd love it if you'd hit the subscribe button. So we come from episode 4, which from the very start to the very end had me hooked. The first time an entire episode has done that so far for me this season. And we jump back into the laugh track 1980s sitcom world, a la Family Ties style, and I thought, oh no. This has been the part of the series that I haven't enjoyed as much. Luckily, these parts aren't the entire episode, and we are cutting back to S.W.O.R.D agents outside of Westview. The sitcom parts are a little boring, but we're finally getting more of the pieces of the bigger picture inside of those segments. Things like Agnes wondering if she should do another take of her scene to please Wanda. While we knew that Agnes and many of the cast inside Westview are at least somewhat aware of what situation they're in, to see Agnes just boldly ask Wanda to her face, and in front of Vision nonetheless, I thought was interesting. You would think Wanda wouldn't allow anything that could clue Vision in as to what is really going on to be allowed. When we cut back to the S.W.O.R.D agents, I find that part of the story really carrying the enjoyment of the show for me when the sitcom parts aren't cutting it. I like the name dropping of Captain Marvel, and the reaction that brings from Monica Rambeau, as well as hearing how Wanda nearly defeated Thanos on her own very recently. It was interesting to hear Wanda does not have a superhero code name, and I hope that somehow she gets known as the Scarlet Witch before the series wraps. But one of the oh wow moments for me in this episode was finding out that Wanda did break in 9 days prior to steal Vision's corpse. Since last week's episode, when we saw the quick image of the dead Vision, I've heard fans theorizing if she was walking around with a corpse, and now I guess we got our confirmation that she is. Spooky. I do want to mention Kat Dennings' portrayal of Darcy Lewis. Last week I was pretty hard on her, but this week it was much better and more enjoyable for me. I think it really could have been a case of bad writing, especially the attempts at humor last week. So we're back in the 1980s. Vision is questioning the reality of what's happening. To find out he doesn't remember his life before this WandaVision incarnation is interesting to me. More puzzle pieces are revealed in this episode, including the brief moment that Norm finds some clarity of the situation, thanks to Vision, and we find out how painful the experience of being controlled is. I expected the twins to age up really fast, which they do, not once in this episode, but twice. I wasn't expecting them to be able to control that, since I thought everything was of Wanda's doing. I was hoping for another mention of Pietro, which we get, but this time it doesn't upset Wanda at all, which I knew had to be a future setup for something. There's a lot of really good moments in this episode besides what I've mentioned already. Another standout moment was Wanda leaving the protected Westview bubble to speak with the S.W.O.R.D agents after they tried to strike her down with a missile they sent in. I wasn't expecting her to leave Westview at all, which means she's either confident enough that nothing will happen to tip Vision or anyone else off to the scam while she's gone, or if it does, she knows she's powerful enough to fix it. I love the fact that her Sokovian accent was back as she drew the line to protect this reality she had crafted. As a matter of fact, this episode really shines for the acting talent of Elizabeth Olsen. She has flawlessly pulled off so many decades, styles, and variations of her character in all of these episodes. Plus Paul Bettany. He, especially on this episode, is hot on the trail of discovering what is really going on, and he plays everything so well. So true to the Vision character, or how the character would be in whatever decade they're in. The moment with Vision questioning Wanda about what's going on, and Wanda says she doesn't even know how this began. Huge line, I believe, for the fact that she is being controlled. And then there's the fight they have. The way he's never spoke to her before, as she notes. That's another strong moment. The fact that when this fight is starting to heat up, Wanda starts rolling the credits, because she's ready for this episode to be done. As a viewer, I thought, well, this is probably it for the week. But it isn't, and I love that. At one moment, it felt to me like the two of them, levitating and starting to power up, might start to battle each other right there in their 1980s living room. But the situation calms itself in time for the doorbell to ring. Okay, so Wanda says she didn't do it. She didn't ring the doorbell. She reluctantly opens the door, and we see a look of shock on her face. I was so glad they didn't cut the episode there. Instead, we briefly cut to S.W.O.R.D, where alarms are going off like mad. And then we cut back to Wanda's guest in the doorway. Not only does Marvel deliver, it's a 1-2 punch. It's Pietro. But no, not the Aaron Taylor Johnson version who died in Avengers Age of Ultron, but the version of Pietro from the Fox Studio X-Men movies played by Evan Peters. Now, his take on the character is much different than Aaron Taylor Johnson's, but he delivers enough in the brief line or two he has before the episode wraps to know that it's the same characteristics and personality from the X-Men version of the character. Boom, mic drop, game over. It looks like we've got a lot of great things ahead of us as we've now passed the halfway mark of WandaVision. So what's to come? We saw another appearance by the mailman in this episode. I wonder who he could be and what his ultimate role will be. I'm guessing we'll go to the 90s in a Roseanne-themed episode soon. Since Roseanne was always known for their Halloween episodes, maybe this one will be the one that will feature Wanda and Vision in their comic book costumes as teased in stills and footage before the series began. I'm really looking forward to that episode whenever it happens. I'm curious as well to see what happens with Pietro. I personally always loved the Aaron Taylor Johnson version better. He seemed more cocky and much similar to the Quicksilver I grew up reading in the comics. But I'm not anti-Evan Peters either. It's like asking me which candy bar I like better. They're both good, but I'm going to pick the Fifth Avenue before a 100 grand bar. Wanda said earlier in this episode that you can't reverse death. So she's pulled a Pietro for us from another franchise, but for her, is it another world, another reality? I'll be looking forward to seeing how they touch on that, if they do it all in the future. I've pulled some more Scarlet and Vision comic books from my collection to showcase for you right now, so let's take a look at them. I love the cover of this Marvel Age comic book. This was when the Vision and Scarlet Witch first limited series was released, and it's discussing that, along with the West Coast Avengers limited series comic book that dropped around the same time. Great cover. Here's Avengers number 194, which showcases Vision on the cover. And then I pulled two Marvel fanfare books for you. The first one, Scarlet Witch and Spider-Man. Isn't that a cool cover? But what's even better, maybe, is the back cover with Doctor Strange, who I wouldn't be surprised if we see making an appearance in WandaVision before this is wrapped up. And then I have, I like this cover a lot, Marvel Fanfare 14, the Fantastic Four in aid of Vision and Scarlet Witch, who look like they're in, or have been in, some pretty big trouble. And the back cover of this happens to feature the Inhumans, including Pietro, Quicksilver. Hey, a big shout out as well to ComicClearSupplies.com, which is where I get my clear backing boards. They're not a sponsor or anything, but these clear backing boards are my latest thing in my collection that I'm absolutely in love with. So I want to give a shout out to them for an awesome product that I thoroughly enjoy. So check them out at ComicClearSupplies.com if you're looking for some clear backing boards for your comic books in your collection. So please like this video. Leave me a comment below about what you thought about this episode. And as I said at the beginning, if you're new to my channel or you haven't yet subscribed, I would appreciate if you would click subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you instantly know when new content will be added. Well, I look forward to talking with you more about future episodes of WandaVision. Until then, have a great rest of your day. We had joy, we had fun, we had seasons in the sun.